प्रभा खेतान फाउंडेशन PKF एक पुस्तक विमोचन पहल है जिसमें इतिहास के साहित्य प्रेमियों और विद्वानों को डॉक्टर विक्रम संपत के नवीनतम साहित्यिक योगदान, टीपू सुल्तान, मैसूर के अंतराल की गाथा 1760-1799 का जश्न मनाने के लिए एक साथ लाया गया है। मुख्य अतिथि डॉक्टर एस जयशंकर, माननीय विदेश मंत्री, भारत सरकार और विशिष्ट अतिथि श्री पवन के वर्मा, लेखक, राजनयिक और पूर्व सांसद डॉक्टर संपत के साथ बातचीत में शाम को 18वीं सदी के मैसूर शासक टीपू सुल्तान के आसपास के ऐतिहासिक आख्यान को उजागर किया।
कर्नाटक से आता हूँ जहाँ पे टीपू जयंती मनाया जाता है एक तरफ से, और दूसरे तरफ से जो भाजपा और उनके विरोधी दल है वो भी इतिहास को किसी न किसी तरह तोड़ मरोड़ के प्रस्तुत करते हैं। कर्नाटक चुनाव के पहले दो गौड़ा चिफ्टन्स के बारे में बहुत सारी बातें निकली कि उरी गौड़ा और नंजे गौड़ा, इन्होंने टीपू सुल्तान की हत्या की, न कि ब्रिटिश कमांडर्स ने। तो इस तरह इतिहास के साथ जब छेड़छाड़ होता है और आज की राजनीति के लिए उसका इस्तेमाल होता है, तब मुझे लगता है कि एक इतिहासकार जैसे मैं हूँ उनका दायित्व बनता है कि इतिहास के तथ्यों को पाठकों के सामने प्रस्तुत करें।
जन्मदिन भी है, कल मनाया गया, इतिहास में देखा जाए तो जन्मदिन भी है और एक सामाजिक तौर पर बहुत बड़े एक फिलोसफर भी आपने जो बताया वो भी रहे हैं। तो कैसे थे सामाजिक परिवेश में उस समय के दौर पर आज जो है समय उसको क्या देखते हैं?
देखिए, ये 18वीं शताब्दी में जो कांड हुए उसको हम आज के स्टैंडर्ड से हम जज नहीं कर सकते, और उस समय में बहुत सारे राजा क्रूरी थे, ये तो माना जा सकता है। परंतु जो जंग में जो क्रूरता दिखाई जाती है उसके साथ साथ जब एक धार्मिक एक परिप्रेक्ष्य से किसी पे अत्याचार किए जाते हैं, और यहाँ पे हर वक्त उनका जो मैनिफेस्टो था वही था कि काफिरों का निर्मूलन करना है और यहाँ एक इस्लामिक सल्तनत की स्थापना करना है। तो उस परिप्रेक्ष्य में हमको देखना चाहिए कि कुछ लोग ज्यादा बर्बर थे, और धार्मिक कारणों से अगर बर्बर थे तो उसकी भी हमें निंदा करनी चाहिए।
I think from Vikram's approach, and I suppose in this case that would not have been entirely easy. In fact, if you ever have an American edition to this book, I would suggest the subtitle "Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Tipu Sultan But Were Afraid to Ask." Now, Tipu Sultan, by any standards, is actually a very, very complex figure in our history. On the one hand, he has the reputation as a key figure who resisted the imposition of British colonial control over India. And it is a fact that his defeat and death can be considered a turning point when it came to the fate of peninsular India. At the same time, he evokes strong adverse sentiments even today in many regions, by some in Mysore itself, in Coorg, and in Malabar. Contemporary history writing, certainly at the national level, has focused largely on the former aspect, underplaying, if not neglecting, the latter. And let's be honest, this was not an accident. Now, history in all societies is complicated, and the politics of the day often indulges in cherry-picking facts. To a considerable extent, that has happened in the case of Tipu. By highlighting the Tipu English binary to the exclusion of a more complicated reality, a particular narrative has been advanced over the years. Dr. S.L. Bhairappa's foreword, which all of you would read when you read the book, I think is a very blunt reminder of that particular debate. This book, therefore, has a very special value because what it does is it not only presents facts about Tipu Sultan for the reader to make his or her own judgment, but it also, and to my mind this is very important, it also brings out the context in all its intricacies. In that process, I can see that Vikram would have had many challenges of orthodoxy to overcome. And these, by the way, I must say, are not specific to the treatment of Tipu Sultan. How much of our past has been airbrushed, how awkward issues have been glossed over, how facts are tailored for regime convenience. These are actually basic questions which confront us all today. As a product myself of an institution that was at the center of these politically driven endeavors, I can well appreciate the need to present an accurate representation of this. In the last decade, the changes in our political dispensation has encouraged the emergence of alternative perspectives and balanced accounts. We are no longer prisoners of a vote bank, nor is it politically incorrect to bring out inconvenient truths. Obviously, there are many more subjects on which the same degree of objectivity is needed. So how exactly we historically characterize Tipu Sultan? That is the conundrum that this work addresses. Now, there can be no doubt that Tipu was fiercely and almost insistent anti-Tipu. How much of it was inherent? How much a result of their allying with his local rivals? That I think is very difficult to distinguish. To counter British ambitions, Tipu Sultan had no hesitation in collaboration with the French. That actually makes a straightforward anti-foreign narrative very difficult to accept. At various points, he also reached out to the rulers of Turkey, of Afghanistan, and of Persia for faith-based support. Perhaps the truth is that the sense of nationhood that all of us have now was simply not there. When identities and awareness are so different at that time, force-fitting them into a contemporary construct seems more than a little challenging. It could well be asked whether Tipu was anti-foreigner per se, or confronting those who were an impediment to his aggrandizement. Now, more touching are a set of related issues pertaining to Tipu's own treatment of his own people and those of neighboring kingdoms. As the author has vividly brought up, Mysoreans themselves, the Kodavas, and those in Malabar and those in Travancore, they still carry deep scars from their experiences of Tipu's war. If the Mandyam Iyengars observe Deepavali as a day of mourning, there is good reason to do so. There are Tipu's own writings, communications, and of course actions that attest to his mindset. Indeed, even his diplomatic activities reflected his faith and identity in strongest terms. The author, in my view, has been sensible in opening them up all to the young. After all, nothing is more revealing than the self-description of rulers, the nature of their orders, and the content of their own conversations. Undoubtedly, there will also be policies, incidents, and events of a contradictory nature. At the end of the day, this larger assessment of Tipu's character has to get that balance right. As someone from the diplomatic world, I was really struck, and I'm most grateful to you for that, by information and insights which were provided in this volume about Tipu's fun house. We in India have tended to mainly study post-independent foreign policy. Who knows, perhaps this too was a conscious choice. But the fact is that many of our kingdoms and our states forayed into international affairs in previous centuries in pursuance of their political interests. And some, by the way, continue to do so even till independence. The interactions of Tipu's emissaries with their French and Turkish counterparts is really fascinating. I don't want to tell my two diplomatic colleagues who are on the stage what happened to his emissaries when they did not succeed. They will discover it, and I think Ambassador, you should take note too. But Tipu's expectations of his foreign partners and the incentives that he actually offers them, it actually tells us something about his mindset. There are, by the way, lessons as well about the importance of accurately understanding global developments. On crucial occasions, Tipu was actually caught on the wrong side of events in France. And I must say this, Vikram, I did not know till I read the book that Napoleon actually wrote to Tipu Sultan. It's a different matter that he never got those letters. Ironically, the British, as is their habit, stole many things.